to this computer. All right, guys. So we're gonna start October's training, and the reason why I wanted to do this is because we don't have that many Hall of Fame producers on the team, and I just want to share with you some things that I learned over the last going on 5 years now on how to hit Hall of Fame personally, and what I've learned from a lot of other people in the company, and asked a lot of questions to high level leaders and high level sellers in the business. And there's only a few things that get you the recipe to be able to get to Hall of Fame. And it's not like being overly good at the script. It's not being overly good at sales. It's mostly just leads and schedule. And what I would tell you is that even whenever I went from in-home to virtual, like my schedule pretty much stayed the same for the most part in terms of output. And if you're still running in-homes, which we do have some people running in-home still, like my schedule was 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Like that was my schedule, and it was 6 days a week, and it was non-negotiable. And then I went to virtual, and it changed a little bit because that's obviously like no drive time, so you can be on the phones longer. But like the amount of activity of talking to people was the same. And what if you're not doing this and you actually want to sell more than 30 grand a month, it's going to start with your schedule first. Because that's the one thing that most people actually F up on, is because they think that they get a couple good sales in the week and then they slack off during the week, or later in the week, or they just are like a roller coaster of emotions. They're a roller coaster of, well, I have something going on here, so I can't do this. Like they never actually have a real work schedule. And I would tell you to go back and audit your time. I don't care how long you were on Zoom. I don't care how long you're at the office. I don't care about that stuff because that's not a good measuring stick of actually working. And when I was selling at a super high level virtually, like my first appointment was always at like 8 a.m. Like 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, my first appointment was always happening. Like I always had morning appointments because I would be selling all day long and doing 1 o'clock closes. But as you know, if you're selling at a high level, you're gonna run into people that you just can't talk to right then and there. And that would be the first people I have appointments with and in the morning. So it's gonna start with you at least getting on the phones by 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Mountain, 6 a.m. Pacific time. Like the number, like it's back and forth. Like it's like that's the time you need to be on the phone. Like if you're in Pacific time, like you just have to get up earlier. It sucks. Sorry. Um, now when you're ending your day, what that's gonna look like is I never stopped until I was done with my goal. You can put an hourly thing on there, like I'm gonna stop at 5 every day, but you're never gonna hit your goals if that's all you're looking at is the time clock, or if you're only looking at the dials. Like I didn't measure my work ethic based on the number of dials. It does help, or the hours that I was at, like actually on the phone. I measured it by the number of sales I accumulated throughout the week. So I'm looking at my calendar. I'm like, okay, for me to sell 500 grand this year, I essentially need to sell like 15 grand a week on average. And how I got to 15 grand a week was closing at least two people per day, minimum, right? And the only way you're gonna be able to close two people minimum per day is by having at least $2,000 worth of leads that are either age or fresh, like I don't care, and you're actually dialing the phones from 8 a.m. to until you get your two sales. Like I've talked to a boatload of producers on other teams, and I see them at the office and I see them on Zoom and I actually see them working on social media 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. Now, if that's not your goal, that's not your goal. But that's what it takes to be able to sell at a high level. And if your goal is to hit Hall of Fame, if your goal is to make a shitload of money, there's things that you're gonna have to sacrifice to get there. Like I didn't take a single vacation or spend any money on anything extra for like my first almost 3 years in the business. Like this year is my first year I actually started buying stuff for myself, realistically speaking, and my wife. Like that's almost 5 years later. So it's going to take some sacrifice to get you to where you want to go. And if you're not willing to do that, just know that the goal's not going to align unless you have some crazy skill that someone else doesn't have. You know what I mean? Like Justin, for example, he's been in the business for a few years, and he talked to some guy that does roofing, and you can interrupt if possible, but like he was like, oh yeah, these guys painted this picture on roofing sales. I'm gonna get paid a bunch more money. I'm not gonna have any chargebacks. I don't have any lead expenses, yada yada yada. And he went and tried to sell roofs for 2 months. They didn't pay him, and he wasted 60 days with having no leads going to door to door, and his paycheck was still controlled by the company, man. Right, Justin? Like that's essentially what happened. And he's like, fuck, I need to get back into the business and get back into the insurance because you can't, there's nothing else out there that pays every single day. Like, if there is, drop it in the chat, let me know, and I'll tap in. But like, there's really nothing else that pays like life insurance, which is why I love this industry so much because you're at 100% control of the helm of this vehicle for your own income. Like, nobody's going to change that besides you. And it always starts back to you. You can blame the system, you can blame the lead, you can blame everything else out there. But at the end of the day, if I went through and audited every single person's time that isn't where they want to be, I can 100% promise you it starts with your schedule. And then next thing that it probably is after that is likely lead flow. Like, like I can teach you and you can read a script verbatim with zero personality and accidentally sell 5 grand a week with the right leads in the right schedule. Like accidentally. That's what, like 3 policies, maybe 5 if they're small. Like that's anybody could do that. There's guy when I first got into the business, I would Zach was introducing me to a bunch of people, and I looked at like the majority of the room, and I was like, that dude's 50, this person's 18, this person's 30 with 4 kids. Like, what's stopping me? You know? And in the beginning, like my first 2 weeks in the business, I worked so diligently to make sure that I didn't fail because I knew that if I couldn't make it more than 30 days in my situation, which I now say like 90 days is like your cap, is that I would be out of the business faster than like getting into anything else. Because if you don't make money, it's hard to stay in the business because it takes money to make money, right? And it's a 4x generally on leads. Like if you buy, $2,000 worth of leads, it's usually a 4 to 5x depending on how good you are on the phones. So if you're having a hard time hitting your goals, go back, audit your time, and let's say Ben, for example, travels a lot. Let's say he has something that's planned on a Thursday and Friday that where he would usually be dialing. He would then take that a lot of time, that amount of time that he would be spending typically doing that, and he would reallocate that earlier in the week. He would reallocate that the week prior. He would reallocate it 2 weeks prior. But you have to shift the times before that comes. You can't make up on it later. Because what's going to happen is you're like, oh, I got to do something on Friday, so I can't work. And then you're like, I'll make it up on Sunday. And then Sunday comes around, you're like, I'm tired and I just traveled and I don't want to dial. And then you don't do it. And then now you only did 4 days that week and you only sold 2K. You know what I mean? So take the blocks of times or look at a calendar in whole, 28 to 31 days for each month. Look at the month that we're in, write in everything in your calendar that you have pre-scheduled. Your trips with your spouse, vacations, kids soccer practice, whatever you have that you are already obligated to, remove it from your schedule. And then those time slots, you need to reallocate into your schedule elsewhere. Like if you have soccer at 5 p.m. on Thursdays that take 3 hours, then on Mondays, Tuesday, or Wednesdays, you either stay late, you work extra an hour each day, or you just do 3 hours earlier on one side or 3 hours later on the other side. But the same amount of work is in the schedule. Like when I was selling 15 grand a week in the field, I went back and I looked at the amount of time that I was actually talking to clients, and it was about 70 to 85 hours a week. I was actively talking with clients and going over numbers. It's almost nearly impossible to actually sell 15K a week by only spending 40 hours a week talking to clients, unless you're really good. And if you're really good, you're really good. Like, but not everybody's really good. This business doesn't take talent. It just takes a little bit of work ethic and a very dialed in schedule. So, now with that being said, there's a few other things that I would tell you that helped me hit Hall of Fame, which I think is very, very important to your career here. And that's going to be educating myself outside of dial time. What that looked like, it was when I was at the gym, I was listening to YouTube trainings. When I was driving, I was listening to YouTube trainings. When I was done for the day and I was laying in bed and instead of doom scrolling, I was listening to YouTube trainings. I was educating myself on products. I was educating myself on sales tactics. I was educating myself on the script, educating myself on tonality, everything that it takes to be successful in the business that you don't just show up or you're born with. And that helped me shorten my learning curve by probably 6 months because all I did was consume information to be able to help me sell at a high level. And then I went out and practiced it. So what I learned the night before, I would reapply it on the phone. So sounding concern in your tonality, um, using different sales tactics like tossing the potato around. Like if they give you an objection, you just, repeat it back to them and keep moving forward. Get overcoming the not interested objections, like all the stuff that you would usually get on the phone. I was learning while also executing and going through the trial and error process. Because if you're just waiting for the people that hired you in the business, or you're waiting for me, or you're waiting for Alethea, Ben, Josh, Shannon, Brian, like anybody in here to tell you what your Juba that you're doing wrong, like you're just waiting for nothing, because they're not going to know what's going wrong unless you're on Zoom off mute and you actually come to them with real questions. You could dial 400 hours today and I wouldn't even know, because you wouldn't tell me, or you wouldn't communicate that with me. Like, hey, I talked to this many people. Like, I think Tiffany's in here. Like, she sends her numbers to Josh and I every single day of like what happened, how many people she talked to, how many she sold. And I think over the last 2 weeks we looked at it and we're like, okay, great. Now you bought this many leads, you sold this much on leads, and this is what you did for the week. Like, it's probably time to re-up on the leads. And then boom, on Monday she sold like another 3 to 5 policies. So there's only a few levers to pull in this business. And that's kind of what you need to use with your mentor, somebody that sells at a high level in the business. And what I would never do is I would never take advice from anybody that sells less than me. Like if you're taking advice from Joe Schmo next to you, but they don't sell shit, like I'm not listening to them. It's the same thing that you go get lessons for, like if you're playing baseball or football, like you're not going to take even golf. Like I suck at golf, but like I'm not going to take advice from somebody that's worse than me. And that's the same thing that happens in this business a lot, is like you'll find buddy buddy with somebody because you guys were late on something, but then you're either at the same level or one person's worse than the other and you guys are giving each other tips. Like I only talked to top producers when I was brand new. I called Jake, I called Easton, I called Zach, I called Andrew Taylor, I called all of the people that on YouTube did a training that were over 40K. And that's how I became that. Number one, that helps you with your network so you can figure out what else is going on in the industry, but also it helps you get different perspectives on sales tactics, leads, systems and processes, all the things that you would know, that you would need to know to be able to make adjustments. And we've got it so dialed in now and it's so reliable that it's really not that much new stuff to implement, outside of just like making sure you have the right lead flow. And if you're buying less than $1,000 a week on leads, like I can promise you 1000% you're not going to sell more than 30K unless you're really good. Like it's just not going to happen. Um, like I suck and I needed 2K. I needed the 2K of leads to be able to make the 40K at least per month. And there was months that I got better or that I worked a little bit harder where I would have like 70, 80K months, multiple months in a row, because maybe I made a slight adjustments, or just like the leads were better that month, which it happens as part of the industry. Like things change. So with that being said, guys, like those are some things I really, 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 really want to stress on, because we have so many good agents and so many good people in this business that I really want to see you guys win, because you deserve it if you're doing the right activities. And so, what I would tell you is that if you're having these types of issues that I'm talking about, is I see the IP report, like I know what's going on. Like if you're doing less than 15 grand and you're like up and down on leads, or you're up and down on schedule and you're super frustrated, like I would just look in the mirror and see and analyze yourself and look at your schedule like heavily, because you can be mad at the business, you can blame all the things on the business, but like you can't really change, like nobody else can change that besides you. We need some accountability. And so if your accountability is not there, then just don't set yourself up for false expectations. Like don't think that you're going to sell at a high level if you're not doing the right stuff to sell at a high level. You're just setting yourself up for failure. And mindset's huge in this business. And every day is a new day. Like if I never had a bad week in this business. I've had a couple like hard days. Like the last few weeks actually been a little tough, but like you would never know, because every day I start fresh. Like I never carry any of the emotion. I never carry any of the shit that all the clients yelled at me for the next day. Like I never like this one time I went to this lady's house and her dog like peed on me, right? Like the next day I didn't go out in the field and be like super upset because her dog pissed on my jeans and I was stuck in those jeans for the next 8 hours, right? Like that kind of stuff didn't like didn't deter me from doing the right activity. And things like that would happen a lot. Like even when you go virtual, which everybody is now, like there may be a day that you don't sell anything, but if you don't sell anything for a full week, like there's way bigger problems. It's not the leads, man. It's you. It's your schedule. It's your lead flow. It's your work ethic. So we got like 5 minutes left ish. I wanted to just kind of open it up to see what you guys had for me in terms of questions on, what you should realistically expect based on your goals, what you should be adjusting schedule wise, what you should be adjusting, objection wise. I just wanted to open it up to see what I can do to help you guys because um I can only do so much and I don't know what I don't know. So if you guys have any questions for me, I'll answer these questions for the next 5 minutes and then we'll get ripping again.
What are the legal dial times? We got a call this morning, my wife and I, at 6:30 in the morning from telesales.
Yeah. If you're not in Florida, you can call them basically whenever because they signed up for a lead form that allowed you to call them legally, like basically whenever. But if it was me and I was like thinking about it from a logical perspective, I would probably make that time zone around 7 a.m. is usually when I would like the earliest I would call that time zone. And I would call it as late as like 9:30, 10 p.m. But that's the good thing about being virtual is that you can adjust your time zones to match where you are to be able to work as many hours as you please. All right, we had another question. What do you what do you have 30K agents do when they're on a cold streak when they're in their heads and okay. So Ben, can you come off mute real quick and elaborate on what you mean by that? Is it mostly like leads or was it mostly like what do you think is going on with that person?
No, like I mean, it happens to me too. But I feel like when you go like 3 days without selling, it could be the leads for those 3 days. But I think anything past that is probably you like changing stuff or
Hmm.
just coming off differently than you realize. And then I don't know, you kind of blame everything else, and then all of a sudden, like that one sale goes through, and all of a sudden it's so clear that the last like 2 weeks you've just been doing this wrong. But how do you cut that shorter for your agents?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I think I've seen more recently than not with like the mindset thing is it's easy to blame a lot of other things, but what I've always noticed is that I'm really not an emotional person. Um, can you hear me? Am I cutting out? I'm good. Yeah, so
No,
I'm I have I luckily enough the military like pretty much harden me up to where like I'm not super emotional and I just wake up like it's a new day, like I'm fresh. A lot of other people may be struggling with that. So what I would tell you if like you're used to selling 20, 30, 40 grand a month and like you're on like a cold streak is that just go back and reflect. And if you're religious, pray to God and wipe your sins. But what I would tell you is that if you're having a cold streak for more than 3 days, it's probably time to buy new leads and or like go in there and retrain up on some stuff. But just remember that like go to sleep. It's okay that you had a bad day, and then the next day just wake up that it's a brand new day and that you're gonna be fine. Like at the end of the day, if you're doing the right activities, if you're actually doing the right activities, the shit will buff out and it will be fine. But if you're oh, for that person in particularly, I don't know what you're talking about, but I would actually look at like the number of dials that they made, the number of people they talked to, the number of talks they had, the number of presentations they had, and the number of leads they bought for that week and how new are those leads. And I'll look at like those 4 or 5 things. And based on that, it should give me enough data to actually figure out what's going wrong. Because if they are only making 200 calls, I know they're not doing the right activity. If they bought leads 2 weeks ago, I know they need new leads. If they're not getting a lot of talks, it could be a phone number thing or a lead thing. If they're getting a lot of talks and they're doing a lot of presentations, but they're not closing, I know it's a script thing. So like outside of mindset, there's only like those four levers to really pull to be able to change the situation that you're in.
Amazing.
Cool. Any anybody else got any other questions on like selling at a high level? I know there's probably a few.
Wait, one thing, the only thing that I've ever done that was very helpful, listen to your own recordings. It's pretty easy to sometimes figure out what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, everybody hates listening to their own voice, including myself. So I would tell you that if you're having a problem listening back to your recordings on your on your calls, you're gonna find things that you didn't realize that you said that sound probably awful. So like if you're getting a lot of talks and you're not closing, go back and listen to your recordings. And 100% guarantee you're gonna find something there that you probably should change. Weird filler words, using passive language, tonality, not picking up on client cues about like an upcoming objection, positioning questions in the script out of order, straight up just asking for a social without providing like a reason on why you need it. Like all the objections that you would normally get in an application, you can absolutely 100% avoid if you position the script correctly and you position all of your words and questions intentionally and you front load it so that way when you get to the hard stuff to get like social and bank, which isn't that hard if you follow the script, then it will by default make sure you don't get those objections later if you front load them. Like one thing I was in the office yesterday and I was listening. We had quite a few new agents in there and I was listening and I was like, oh shit. Um, the like this one agent in particularly was like, "Oh, like what day do you want to pay the policy?" And I was like, "Stop. Like, don't say anything else. I'm gonna tell you exactly what to say next." And they're like, "Well, like I can just put it for, I can post date it." And I was like, "Yeah, do you want to charge back?" And he's like, "No, okay, great. So this is how we're gonna do it." I'm like, "All right, so what day of the month do you pay your bills, sir?" And he's like, "On the 15th." And I look at the calendar and the 15th was yesterday, right? And this was on Monday. And I was like, "Okay, great. Do you want this to come out on the 1st or the 15th?" And the guy was like the 15th. And then boom, we filled it, we fixed it, and he paid for it yesterday. So getting them to pay for it right away, unless they're on Social Security or disability where they get paid on the first, third, or one of the Wednesdays, you need to make sure that they pay for the policy within the first 7 days, or else you are teeing yourself up for a chargeback. Because if you're selling on post dates, or you're selling, or I want to think about it, or you're selling on, oh, let me talk to the wife, you are not submitting good business. It should be utterly clear that they're getting the policy and that they're paying for it on a specific day, because that is how you stay profitable. And that's how you avoid the emotional roller coaster of chargebacks. Our agency as a whole has 90% persistency. And I can guarantee you it's because 90% of people put the payment date for the day of or on one of the Wednesdays or one of the first or the third if that person's on Social Security. And the reason I know that is because number one, the persistency is 90%. And number two, if we look at our week to date, week one, week two, week three, week four, it's equal. It's all the same. Every other agency that I've noticed, or a lot of agencies, I'm not going to say everyone, but a lot of agencies, almost all of their production is on the first 2 weeks of every month, which tells me that they probably have a persistency issue and they probably also wait all month long to get paid because everybody's posting all the policies. If you look at our book of business as a whole, as a team collectively, you guys, our weeks are all equal measurements. The first week is usually a little bit more by like 20 or 40K, but every week after that is 100% equal, which tells me that everybody's doing really quality business and they're super intentional with when they select the draft date, which is important to you getting paid because now I know that when the IP report comes out, I see that you have production getting posted every single week, that you're actually making money. And that's how I know that we're doing a really good job at this. But we need to keep doing a good job at this by letting new agents know that it's not okay to post date and we need to issue the business as quick as possible if you want to stay profitable. Anybody else before we wrap up?
Hey Calvin, quick question. You
Yeah.
were talking about drive time, like road time in the bed, whatever, just listening to trainings and stuff. Can you just name drop a couple people that you would like recommend today for us to like fill our minds with like good content?
Yeah. Easton Patton's a great he's amazing at training and he's really good at offloading sales pressure. I like him. I like Harold Harold Dumar. What's Harold's last name, Josh?
Durana.
Durana. I like Harold. Harold's
Yeah, he's
great.
good.
Um, who else is really good is Andrew. If you go on Andrew's podcast, they interview like a top producer every single week that's doing over 30 or 40K. And they tend to have a lot of different background people. So like moms, people that came from pro athletes, military, like there's all different types of backgrounds. And I would go on there and I would just see like who you relate with the most in terms of background to see like what they're doing. Cause it might be useful to you to be able to be like, oh, this person's like, a new mother And this is how she's able to do her schedule to be able to fit everything to sell at a high level. Like those types of things I think are good to listen to and to be able to see that like other people in a similar situation is doing good. So I think I love Andrew's podcast. They do a really good job. Paul McLean's not here anymore, but he does have a lot of really good trainings out there on YouTube. John Wetmore doesn't sell anymore, but again, he has a lot of really good like older sales trainings that are out there from a long time ago. He's a great trainer. Is there anybody else that I'd be missing out on, guys, that have been here for a while? Josh or Ben or anybody?
No, you hit some of the key ones, but I do want to say, y'all be prepared. Like most of the people that do or have done really well, sold a lot, and also have built big agencies, they are masters of keeping things super duper simple.
True.
Like you're not about to learn a bunch of new. You're going to hear some of the same stuff over and over again, be reminded. And it's just going to be a matter of when it clicks for you of putting into action, you know. So
Yes. Yeah, that's honestly so true. Like most of these people that are selling the super high level are keep it simple, stupid, because they're not like overcomplicating the process. Like an IUL, for example, like they don't explain every single small detail that confuses the client. Keeping it simple is huge. Like what's whole life insurance? Permanent life insurance that doesn't expire and your price is the same. You know, I don't need to talk about cash value. I don't need to talk about living. I don't talk, I don't need to explain all that stuff unless they specifically ask. Term life insurance, temporary life insurance that expires eventually, IUL, a retirement life insurance that gives you the best of both worlds. Like you can just keep it so simple that what I've noticed too is has anybody ever gone to buy a car and then like the first thing the person does is they talk about all the features and you're like, whoa, this is like super like I don't care about the safety, like there's certain things that you care about when you buy a car, but like they're like telling you about all the technology and this and that, and you're like, okay, like I'm totally out, right? Same thing with life insurance, like just keeping it simple and like even though that all the stuff about the life insurance thing, just focus on like the purpose of why they were interested and the purpose of what it's going to do for their family and the purpose of why they'll continue to talk to you. Because if you're selling off of the why, like if someone, and we'll end on this, if someone's giving you surface level answers during the script, they're like or just like blatantly agreeing with you throughout the whole entire sales process, it's going to be hard when you get to the application because they're going to give you a lot of objections. But if you could literally repeat back to them the entire situation, oh, so you're single, you take care of your kid, and you have a mortgage. So whenever you pass away, your kid's going to have nowhere to live, and you have no money saved up, and then they're going to take time off work and they can't afford to stay there. Like you can understand like the cause and effect of what happens of not having life insurance. And you can find that with every single person because everybody has something going on. Nobody's life's perfect. And so if you can just find those little pinpoints in the conversation with that individual, it's going to make it a lot easier to be able to sell them because you're not really selling them. You're just really providing a solution to their current issue that they already have. And then you're just taking an order on based on what they can actually afford per month. And if someone tells you I can spend $300 a month, you're not going to sell them for $300 a month. You're going to sell them for like 150. So that way you downsell them. So that way they feel comfortable about everything and it fits their budget. And whenever something pops up like a flat tire or they get fired, they can still afford to pay their life insurance. So like those are some things that I learned over the years that helps keep sticky business sticky. And if we don't have any other questions, we'll wrap up with that. Definitely go ahead and check out all the trainings. I would highly encourage you to spend at least an hour a night, like just going through this stuff and knowing, because if your upline's having to explain how whole life insurance works, like you already got a problem and you probably should do some self-education. So I appreciate every single person on the team. I want to see, Jib was laughing. I want to see a bunch of you guys win at a high level. And I want to make sure that like you're getting paid. Like at the end of the day, I don't want to see anybody fail. And I do want to see you living the life that you want to live and actually be fulfilled for doing this job because I love it. I'm super passionate about it and I couldn't see myself doing anything else. And I want to see you guys win the level that I want at, but it starts with your work ethic and it starts with leads. And so I hope this helped today. And I hope you can take this and go and apply it and make something happen the rest of the week and through the weekend, because the weekends is where you separate yourself. The weekends is where you prepare yourself for Monday. The weekends is where all of the money is made before the week starts. And if you're trying to become a millionaire, or if you're trying to even get 100 grand in your bank account, you're going to make it on Saturdays and Sundays. I 100% 1,000 and whatever. I 100% guarantee you that that's going to be made on Saturdays and Sundays because that's where everybody else is taking the time off. That's where everybody else is doing stupid shit like going to the bar. That's where everybody else is doing non-money making activities. And that's the day that you catch up because everybody is home on the weekends and everybody is picking up the phone because they're happy and in a good mood and they're not at their shitty job. So I'll leave you guys with that. I appreciate all y'all and I'll see you next week.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Calvin.
Appreciate you,
Have a
bro.
good one, Calvin.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, have a good one.